Hello, 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 hello. How are you today? If you see us on Facebook, please let us know whether or not you can see us. I have no idea what's going on with Facebook today. Apparently, because it's our last day, Facebook want to show out today. So let me know if you can see me if we are live. Everything seems like it's connected on my end. It's saying that I am live. I don't know what's going on. But let me know. Just let me know. If you are here, let me know if you can see us. YouTube, let us know if you can see us. Facebook, let us know if you can see us. Let me see if I can do this here. Good evening. Good evening. Oh, I'm just getting a message from someone asking had the session started yet. So that must mean that they cannot see me on Facebook. I'm gonna see if I can log on to some other things and share because I do see that I am live on my personal page. So let me see if I can share that. See, that's what happens when you do things for 30 days. Oh, you kind of get used to, okay, well, I think this is gonna break down and this is what you do. Yeah, so we are yeah, that's what happens when you get used to systems. So that's what I'm doing right now. We will not be defeated in this. Not today. Not today. If you are on here, thank you for joining. As we celebrate doing this, I think it's been over 30 days to be honest, because I think we started like on 27th of April, 28th, maybe a little bit earlier than that. So it has been over 30 days. Let's see if I can share to something else here. It may not let me share to, let's see. I think it's being a little difficult. I'm trying to share it to my business profile. If you are on my personal page and can share it to my business profile, or let me see. I don't know if it'll let me do it. It may let me tag. Let me see if it'll let me tag. Okay, so I just shared it. I think I just shared it to my own profile again. Oh, I think I know another option here. Ooh. I see that I have two people on. Hello, hello, hello. I'm trying to troubleshoot here. If for some reason it is not showing up on my business page, but I think I have a solution. Because I just seen someone shoot me a message saying that it wasn't showing up on my business profile. But guess what? It is our last day. So the troubleshooting, I'm here for it today. Like I'm here for it. This may not be a video that will leave up. And I may actually not leave this one up just because we're going to talk about some resources today. We're also going to talk about um, some Q&A. I have a couple questions that we'll go through that I've gotten from people. Let's see here. Let's see if it'll let me create a post. Paste. And then I have a free gift. So make sure that you stay on to the end so that you will get the free gift, because the only people that will get this free gift are the people who show up live today. It will not be posted anywhere. I will not have the link. So if you don't grab the link while you're live, you will not get the opportunity to get the link. If you join us and you are on Instagram, shoot me a DM letting me know that we were live, and then I will send you a copy of our free gift. But only the people who show up today on live will get a free gift. And here's the reason why: because thank you for joining. That's number one. Thank you for joining. Hey, Jackie. Hey. Thank you for joining. That's number one. Thank you for your support. That's number two. And then number three, it is because the gift that I am giving you is literally like the introduction to a book that I am writing along with a journal. So in the future, it will be a book and it will be a separate journal. But because you are joining me live, you will get the first taste of that book slash the introduction to the book, and then the journal. And the title of it is How to Rebuild Your Life from Pain. And so I'm pretty excited about it. I'm pretty excited. I think we're all clear here. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can see me. Let me know if everything's coming across very clearly. I see I have some comments here. Thank you guys for thank you for your help. Because we will not be, hey, there we go. We will not be defeated today. Okay. We will not be defeated. We're keeping pushing. So if you don't know who I am, if it's your first time joining us, my name is Dr. Tiffany. I am a marriage and family therapist. I'm a relationship expert. And in our consulting business, we work with women who are healing and recovering from traumatic relationships. So that's bad breakups, toxic relationships, that's bad divorces, that's just any grief, any loss. If you're healing and recovering from things that have caused you some sort of trauma, then that's what we do here in our coaching business. Now, for those who don't know, coaching is very different from therapy. Therapy, there's usually a treatment plan, and things are maybe a little bit slower, a little less direct. But when you're working with a coach, you have specific goals, and you do in therapy too. You have specific goals that you're working towards. You have specific goals. The therapist is usually a bit, the coach is a little bit more direct. You have actionable things that you're doing in order to move you from point A to point B, or from point B to point C. So the approach is a little bit different. In therapy, I may let you, talk a little bit more and work out your stuff in therapy, and you just kind of the facilitator. In coaching, I'm a little bit more blunt and a little bit more direct, but it is my personality as well. Even as a therapist, it was my personality. So thank you so much for being here. And as promised, today we'll talk about some resources, because I don't want to leave you guys, especially we're talking about sexual abuse. We've been talking about trauma. We've been talking about generational trauma. We've been talking about racism. I did not want to leave you guys without having some resources, or without providing you with some resources, because that would be negligent of me, right? If you've been catching me throughout the month, or a little over a month now, then you will see, if you are on Facebook, there below, you will see a pinned comment. And below that pinned comment, I think you will see it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it today because Facebook is acting crazy. But I usually have a pinned comment, and in that I have, the suicide prevention line, the crisis line, the sexual abuse line that sexual assault, I think, hotline that I added when we were talking about sexual assault. So those two are some resources, but I wanted to go over some other resources, and I'll attempt. Well, I may not be able to share my screen. I don't know how that's going to work with Facebook today, because like I said, it's acting weird. And if you're on IG, you won't be able to see the share screen. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to share a screen. But if I don't be able to share a screen, here's what I did do in that guide, the journal that I will be giving away today. I actually put those same resources there inside of the guide. So even though we may not be able to share screen today, you will definitely leave here, and good old pen and paper works too, just fine. good old pen and paper, but you will definitely leave here with some resources. So we'll go over resources, we'll go over some Q&A of some questions that I've received. And should you have any questions, if you are on IG, you can post your questions, put them right in the comments. Don't use the little Q&A box. Don't use that box. Just post them right there in the comments, and I'll be able to see them as they scroll by. If you are on Facebook, if you will post your comments, I should be able to see them. If you are on YouTube, yes, you saw it yesterday. Great, 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 great. If you're on YouTube, your comments are coming directly to me, so I see them. However, on Facebook, it may be a little bit more complicated, but I do have several screens open where I'm kind of flipping back and forth to see if people are able to join me live, and if they have any comments. So we're gonna roll that way today. We're gonna roll that way today. Like I said, guys, we will not be defeated today. Okay. Now let me get my group open here so that I can see their comments. Because I want to see everybody's comments. Yeah, yes, 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 yes. So how's everybody today? Like while I'm doing this, how are you today? Let's just chat. Let's check in. How are you? How are you? How has your day been? How are you coping with life? How are you? A lot of things have happened over the last, man, I can't even put a number on it because a lot of things have just happened. How are you? How are you coping? How are you dealing? What are you doing to take care of your mental and emotional health? Let's just check in. Let's spend some time just checking in while I get all of this stuff set up here. How are you today? Let's just have a very real conversation about that. How are you? And I'm not talking about that little cute stuff. You know how we ask some people, how are you? Like, how you doing, girl? And usually their response is something like, "Oh, I'm doing fine. I'm doing good." I don't want that little cute response. Like we give that, save that cute response for, some save it for some place else. But on this platform, let's be honest. How are you? How are you? Like today, I'm a little flustered because my systems ain't working like my systems was supposed to work. So I'm a little flustered. Like I'm a little, frustrated. My internet went down right before I was supposed to go live. And I was working all the way up until it was time for me to go live. And so I'm a little flustered. But I also know that I will not be defeated in this. Like I know that in this I'm still an overcomer. In this we're still more than conquerors. So even though I'm flustered because life happens and systems happen and things happen, um, I know that at the end I get the victory. Like at the end we do get the victory. Like even though when things happen, but in the end we get the victory. Like we really already have the victory. And I think if we can address problems and issues from a place that we win in the end, like we literally have already won. So if we address the problem knowing that we're winners and that we get the victory in the end, I think we would be a little bit more content as we go through. So even though I'm flustered, I'm content because I know in the end I win. In the end I win. So that's how I feel. How about you? Someone said, "Great, great, better than earlier. Wonderful, wonderful." Yeah, yeah. And I think that, feeling lethargic, it's probably it's a little bit in the atmosphere too, because it's so heavy and there's a lot of stuff that's going on around. So a lot of people, especially if you're a real emotional person, you may be picking up on some of that, some stuff that's going on around you that's in the atmosphere. But no, in this, you are more than a conqueror and you will win. In the end, you will win. Spend some time and process that out, how you're feeling, and know that in the end, we win. Okay, so let's get started with some resources here. So as I mentioned, we've been talking about, some resources for crisis, more so for crisis. But I wanted to go over some resources Because at the end of just about every one of my lives, I say, well, you need to find a therapist. And yesterday we specifically talked about, like, how do you prepare for your first two? Yeah, I think it was the first two therapy sessions. Like, what are some tools that you can use to prepare for that? So we talked a little bit about, what kind of things you look for in a therapist, which was review from Friday. So we talked a little bit about that. But we also talked about, like, what paperwork can you expect, or what assessments can you expect. So if you've never been to therapy and like, this is where I feel like, my life is leading me right now. I know I have some issues that I really need to address. I have some things that I haven't quite worked through that I need to work through. Then what are my next steps? Well, your next steps are going to be to find a therapist. So we talked about, like, how do you know that it's a good fit? And we also talked a little bit about myths, because remember, over here we talk about hard topics with simple life solutions. So we also talked about some myths. One of the myths being that it doesn't matter what therapist you choose. It doesn't matter, what race your therapist is, or it doesn't matter what religion your therapist is. And in the real world, um, they say it don't matter. At least that's what we're trained in therapy, that we're supposed to not be we're supposed to not discriminate. That's part of our code of ethics as a counselor and as a therapist, is not to discriminate based on race, gender, or culture. We're not supposed to discriminate. We're supposed to treat all people equally. But in the real world, we realize that we bring our experiences, we bring our life with us everywhere that we go, and sometimes it's hard to separate that. So when a person maybe practicing a certain religion that you're not practicing, unbeknownst to you, they may be bringing that into the therapy session, and you may not know it. You may not even be able to tell it, because we're not just physical beings; we're also spiritual beings. So it absolutely matters what therapist you choose. Now it matters. So I can't go along with what everyone else teaches, even in the therapy world, because we talked about this a little bit yesterday, that the reality is that when therapy was created, it wasn't created with all races in mind, which is why over the years, a lot of assessments have gotten a lot of backlash, because they were not diverse. They were not done on diverse people. And so a lot of it may not apply, which is why it is important of the therapist that you use, because different therapists, different race, different cultures, different religions bring different influences. And so if I'm working with a client, and they come in and say something like, what don't come out in the wash will come out in the rinse. Well, I know what that term I know what that term means, because that term is from the country. It's a country saying. It's one of those things that I grew up hearing my family say, and so I can relate to that. Or I can relate to certain things because of my race, that I don't necessarily say, oh, well, maybe this is something to this, or maybe this is diagnosable, because according to my upbringing, I don't. It's something that's against what I know it to be, which is why race is important sometimes, and culture is important, even with therapists, although they're supposed to ask. But there are sometimes they may not have that foundation that you need, and they may be diagnosing something that actually may be cultural. So it is important. It is absolutely important. So let's go over some resources um, that I've already been listing. So we talked about domestic violence. I wish I could share my screen, because I wanted to pull up the domestic violence hotline um, website to help you navigate it. So I don't know if I'll be able to do that. I don't know if I'll be able to do that, y'all. I really want to do that. I really want to do that. Mm, but I don't know if it'll let me do it. Okay, so just Google it. Google the domestic violence hotline, and you will see this warning sign that pops up and says, here you can click this button. you click this button and you'll easily be able to escape this website or get out of this website, because usually in domestic violent relationships there's a lot of control, there's a lot of power, there's a lot of manipulation that's there. And so in order to protect that person's safety, the website, which is so phenomenal, made it very easy for that person to click out of that, and it won't trace the website and all of that. Very helpful website. And it also lists a number. So if you stay on, I'm going to drop the link so that you can get this guide, because the number is on there. But you can also Google these too. And then there's the suicide prevention hotline with that we've been talking about. I actually did a series on suicide maybe a month or two ago. So go back to YouTube. Those are all saved on YouTube. You go to my YouTube channel, make sure you make sure you're subscribed while you're there and hit the notifications so that you will be notified when we go live and we release videos. But the suicide prevention line is we did some study, some trainings on that not long ago, just talking about, what signs do you look for and how can you as a person, as a support person or a person that the person that is attempting suicide come in contact with, or who threatens suicide, like how do you go through and or how do you navigate that? How do you navigate when a person is saying, I don't want to be here any longer? When should you pay attention to it? Well, you always pay attention to it. When a person is saying that they don't want to feel like they want to go on, or that they don't want to be here anymore, we never ignore those things. And I really feel like what's been missing in a lot of this, even with, the shooting, I feel like what's been missing is the sense of community, which is people just really being concerned about other people. I can't tell you the number of times, we walk past people and we're just not aware that there are people around us who just need to hear you say hello, or just need to say, oh, you got on a cute dress, or I really like, how you put that together. Oh, I love how you interacted with your son. Like, people just need to know that they matter to someone. And you can very well be that person who can intercept a person's decisions. But you have to be aware, and we have to bring back that sense of just caring about other people. That's it. Just caring about other people. So, suicide prevention line, crisis hotline, and then the crisis hotline, which was actually a text line. So you text home to 741-741, and it's a 20. These are 24 hours crisis line. But here's one that I really wanted to talk about today. That's why I wish I could share my screen, because it's how to find a therapist. There are two resources that I have listed here on how to find a therapist. One is Psychology Today. It's psychologytoday.com. You can simply Google this. And when you Google it, it will take you, you will see a link that says find a therapist. It would literally ask you to put in your zip code, and you will be able to find a therapist based off religion, based off culture, gender, based off race. Like, you can break all of that down in Psychology Today and find someone that you feel like will be a better fit for you. You can also narrow that down by insurances. There's also ways to find support groups on there. So it is an excellent resource if you're trying to figure out what your next steps will be, and how you can go about, finding a therapist, or how can you go about, remember, interviewing a therapist. We talked about that yesterday, that you can actually interview a therapist before you can request that. And if they don't want to oblige, or if they don't have a system for interviewing or trying out, beforehand, or even just having a phone conversation, then choose somebody else. It's okay. Choose somebody else. Like, I'm thinking about that reel. Ask somebody else. Just ask somebody else. It's okay. There's a lot of therapists out here. Just go to somebody else, because what you want to feel is comfortable with the person that you choose. So another one that's specifically for Black women is called Therapy for Black Girls. A phenomenal place for women of color to go and find therapists. And they too have a directory that has women of color that are therapists and counselors that you can also break down or find based on their website. Phenomenal. And on their website, let me see if I can get to their website real quick. On their website, They have resources. They have their podcast. They have how you can join their community. They have the blog, how to contact them, how to support them. Excellent, excellent, excellent resource. I think I've signed up for like their blog. It's something that I signed up for that I get newsletter or something that I get. But you sign up, and they will send you, like, you get emails from them, updates and resources and all that stuff. I absolutely love therapy for Black girls because, hey, I'm a Black girl, and whether we want to believe it or not, there's some challenges that people of color, and not just women, but there are some challenges that people of color face that other races may not face. Like, we may not face the same challenges Hispanics and or Pacific Islanders. Like, we all, each every culture has their own specific challenges, and so it's okay for you to choose a therapist based off of your culture. It is absolutely okay. It's probably actually more validating for you. You don't have to, but it's absolutely okay if you choose to. So therapy for Black girls is an excellent resource for how to choose a therapist if you are a person of color. And if you don't want it based off of your color, if you don't want to go that route, then Psychology Today is another resource in finding a therapist. Another place you can find a therapist is at your local universities. People don't know, some people don't know this, but universities that have like counseling programs and therapy programs, sometimes they will allow their students, particularly their students who are in training or who have met the qualifications are and are in that stage of their program where they can actually see clients. They will allow for them to see clients, and some of those services are absolutely free. Some of them are waived. I know I'm near a university, and when we were going through the program, we had to have a certain number of client contact hours. And so built into our program was a clinic where that was open to the public. It was open to the surrounding area. So people could come there, see a counselor, and not pay. I think the most was like $30 for a session. That's a steal. That is literally a steal for a therapy session. And for students, I believe the students got a certain amount for free. So if you are a student and you are watching, if you are going to school at a university, or even if you're employed by a university, take advantage of those resources, because therapy is probably free or very reduced for you. For students, most therapies, for the campus, if they offer that on campus, and even if they don't offer that on campus, because I was in a university that didn't have a therapy program on campus, but what they did set aside was monies and certain resources, so that when a student came in and they were looking for that support, the mental health support, then they had a clinic, or I think it more, yeah, at first it was a clinic, and then they kind of expanded it to a bigger clinic that they contracted with, where they paid for a certain amount of sessions for their students. So check with the local universities. Another thing that you can do if you have insurance, check with your insurance provider. Most insurance companies have EAP programs. EAP is Employee Assistance Programs, and most of those programs provide their employees with a limited amount of sessions. And then after that, your insurance should, maybe, depending on what type of insurance you have, pick up, and then you only may have to pay a copay or a certain amount for a therapy session, depending on the therapist that you have and the cost and all of that. But check with your insurance company, check with your employer. They may have employee assistance, and take advantage of it. Like, that whole work culture that has been pushed forever, that you just kind of ignore your mental health, and you don't take your mental health days, and you don't take your time off. Like, let's throw that in the trash. Take your time off. Go on vacation with your family. If you want to staycation, take your time off and use your time. Don't be saving up your time talking about getting it at the end of the year. No, take your mental health breaks. Take them. They're there. You have worked hard for your time. Use your time. Use your resources that are available for you. Look, I am a nerd. I say that like I'm a nerd. So when I would start a new job, or when I went to school, like I would get all of the paperwork, and I still do this today too. When I buy stuff, or if it has a manual, I literally would go through there and read everything that is available, because I want to know what's available to me. I was helping people navigate through how to apply for school and navigate, and I still do that. Never help people navigate through certain things, entrepreneurship, because I read. Like I'm always reading. I'm always, looking at resources. I'm always on somebody's live, or I'm always learning. I'm a committed learner. I believe in learning. I believe, because if I don't need the material, somebody else may need the material. But if it's along the lines of where I am and what I'm, in my life, I want to know what I have access to. So read when you're getting on the job. Read over your manual. Read over your. You need to know that stuff. You need to know your grievance process on your job. You need to know that. Don't wait till you get ready to file a complaint to figure out how to go up the chain of ladder to do that. No, they hand you this stuff so that you are aware. You need to be aware. You want to move up, then you figure out what you. Okay, I'm going off. Okay, let me bring it on back. Let me bring it on back. Know what resources you have that are available to you where you are. Medicaid, Medicare, regular BSIM, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna. It doesn't matter what your insurance company is. Know what they will cover. Know what they will cover, because you may find that your therapy sessions could be covered depending on your insurance. So those are some other resources that I wanted to drop. So let's move into Q&A, because we already started a little late. So let's move into Q&A. I just want to go over a couple of questions that I received, that I wanted to address live. So one, um, how this one I received. How do I know that it is time to break up with my therapist? Um, hmm. You know that it's time for you to break up with your therapist when you don't trust them. You don't trust their leadership. You don't trust where they're taking you. You don't trust the process. You also know that it's time for you to not necessarily all the time break up with them, but maybe go to them and have a conversation about the therapeutic process. You know that when you feel like you just kind of you're at a dead end. You're hitting a dead wall. You guys are going over the same stuff over and over. That's a clue right there that maybe either we've reached our end, or maybe I'm doing something. I always evaluate myself first. Am I putting all that I should into the process? Am I giving my all? What are my blocks? Am I saying that I'm doing the homework and I'm not doing the homework? So I always evaluate myself first, and then go to evaluate the other person, or give the person a chance to speak for themselves. So, and then you can go to them and ask them, hey, I feel like we're not really doing any work here. Do you have any suggestions? And they will sometimes even offer you a referral. A good therapist will give you a referral. They should not just drop you negligently, especially if you haven't completed the process. If you have completed the process, they should have what we call a discharge. It's called it's a discharge, and in that discharge, that process of termination and then discharge, all of that could be in one session, or it could be several sessions depending on the type of treatment you're in with your therapist. But they should have a discharge process, or a termination process, or a referral process. But it also takes you having that conversation with them, and saying, hey, I don't feel like we're doing any work here. Do you have a referral? Do you feel like there's some blocks? Is a block in me? What are your observations? Do you feel like I do better going to another therapist, someone that maybe specializes in something else? And they shouldn't be offended. If they should not be offended, they should not be offended. Because at the end of the day, this is about healing. This is about you healing and getting the best, your best. But also make sure that it is not an excuse for you to run. Because I know sometimes that, I've had clients like, I don't feel like we doing no work here. I'm like, what you talking about? You cried the whole session. What you talking about? We did some real work last time. What are you doing? And so sometimes people can say that, clients can say that when they're really just running, or they're afraid and they're scared and they don't know how to continue navigating through that process, or even trusting, or because especially if they have some abandonment issues, they may not trust that their therapist is going to help walk them through that process. So make sure that you're not running. Okay. So how do I know if I'm dealing how do I know if what I'm dealing with right now is from the past? That's a good one, because usually if you're dealing with issues today, there's always a foundation. There's always a foundation. No, I don't. Most issues that a person goes to therapy for, or sees happening in their life, especially if we're talking about, you're always seeing your life go in this cycle that you don't seem to be, can be coming out of, or you're having these repetitive things happen, or even repetitive dreams, because sometimes our dreams could speak to some things that are going on in our emotional state. But we see these repetitive things that are happening, and we don't know how to break out of them. You feel stuck, you're not moving forward, you feel stagnant, you may even be going backwards. You may feel like you get to a certain point and then all hell breaks loose, and you end up going backwards and back into an even more toxic pattern, or you're spiraling, down into a deeper depression. Or like, if you see these things, there's always some root. There's always some root. And we know that because we're like trees. We're like trees. The fruit of what we see has a root. The fruit of what we see go on in your life is it has a root. And so in order to tear down the tree, or maybe get some better fruit off the tree, we have to go through, and that's what therapy does, go through and prunes, or it may go through and chop off some stuff by finding what the root is. So there's always a root. The last one is, how do I heal from complex trauma? Healing from complex trauma is complex. You cannot do that alone. You need to find a therapist that you can connect with, that you really trust, because trauma work is hard work. Trauma work can be hard emotional work, which is why sometimes people don't really stick it out and don't want to do the work. So you have to be committed going in, knowing that, hey, I want to be someone. I want to do something different. I'm done. Like, I'm done with being in just survival mode. So that is all of my questions that I have. I don't see. Let me see if I can go in my comments. Y'all know how this comment stuff is today. So, oh, good, 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 good. Someone said they were looking up with these on their computer as I'm talking. Awesome. Awesome. So if you have any comments or any questions as I go along, please drop them in the comments. But for those who showed up live, let me see if I can get the link real quick. I do have a free gift that I am giving away. As mentioned before we go, I wanted to celebrate, being doing this and committing to this for 30 days. It was a challenge for me, but it was one that I absolutely do not regret. And I think they said if you want to break a habit, then commit to doing it. I think it's for 30 days, I think. If I'm wrong, y'all correct me. But and I did. So I wanted to break out of the monotony of just showing up and, here and there. I wanted to break out of that, and I wanted to commit to showing up every day. And it was something that I needed to do for myself. I needed to break out of even the fear of preparing and all that, because I would usually do these once a week sometimes, and prepare for them forever. Well, I couldn't prepare forever when I'm doing different topics every day. So I had to get used to really consuming content really quickly and teaching you guys for 15 to 30 minutes a day. So I am proud of myself for committing to do this 30 days. And what I said yesterday is what we'll do is take 2 weeks off. I'm going to take 2 weeks off because I got some projects that I absolutely have to get done. I have some jobs that I need to prepare for. And so I am taking the 2 weeks off so that I can do that. I also have a conference coming up that I'm going to, a leadership conference that I'm going to. So I wanted to take time off to prepare. I had some other things that I've got to do. Like, it's urgent that I got to do. So taking that time off for 2 weeks, and then I'll come back, and then we'll do another 30 days. So this month we're closing out Mental Health Awareness Month, where we've been talking about mental health and relationships. And we'll come back. We'll come back in the middle of June, and we'll have another topic. So keep updated with us. Like, I'll be doing some replays. I'll be putting out some clips. I'll be putting out reels. I'll be putting out content. So I'm not going anywhere. Like, I just won't be coming on midday lives. I'll be back on, I don't even have the date that I'll be back, but I'll put all of that information out later. But for those who have come live, let me see if I can get you guys a clip here. Not a clip, a link, so that I can share right here for your free download. Let me know. I'm putting it in the comments. So let me know if you're able to see that free download. And remember, I don't think I'm going to leave this live up. So if you don't catch the freebie here, then DM me. You can DM me. Hey, I was live. I didn't get a chance to get the link. Maybe I was driving and I couldn't copy and paste the link. DM me, because I know who showed up live. Like, I can. I know. You put your comment down there and say I'm finna DM you or something, so that I'll know to go back and make sure that you get a copy of the free gift, the 5 principles to rebuilding your life from pain. And these are principles that I use on how I went about rebuilding my life from pain. I even give a little bit of introduction of, how um, I started the process, and how, some background of some things that have happened to me, which I share with you guys all the time about being a teen parent and being a sexual abuse survivor. So all of this, again, as I stated, is literally the introduction to my book that I am writing. And in addition to that, I wanted to give y'all a little snippet, because y'all been rocking with me these past few days, and some of y'all for longer than that. So I wanted to give you guys a little snippet of the book that's coming out. So I put the introduction to the book in there, and I also put some pages or actually went through the principles, the 5 principles. So I kind of touched on those 5 principles with a worksheet and little guide of how, you can use the worksheet. So it's my little gift to you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for joining these past few days. I know that, it may have been a challenge, and we're going a little bit longer today, and that's okay. Like I said, this is not staying up, because I wanted to have that conversation with you guys. But I also wanted to just say thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for those
I wanted to
I'm
have that
sorry.
conversation with you guys.
I wanted to pull that up so I could drop the link. Oh, someone said I didn't see anything yet. I'm getting ready to post it right now. Right here. I'm glad I did that. There we go. There we go. Let me know if you got it, Dr. Monica, if you see it now. but it should be right there in the comments. It's how principles, 5 principles that I use on how to rebuild my life. So in there, I have those tools that we talked about. Oh, and I didn't even talk about like the books. Oh my goodness, I put in there some book. Good, 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 good. I'm so glad you got it. Awesome, awesome. So in there, I also put some book recommendations. Some are books that people have been recommending to me that I am like I'm trying to read at least a couple books a month. And right now I'm reading two of them that I gotta finish. Well, today's the last day. They may not get finished today. They may get finished somewhere around the next 2 weeks when I'm off, taking this little break. But these some of these are books that people have recommended to me, and some of them are books that I've read. So I have them broken down by relationship trauma, by generational trauma, trauma healing, rejection, trauma, and faith. And then child sexual trauma. So it's 6 books, but one of them I have here because I this young lady found me on Instagram, and beautiful, beautiful young lady. I remember what live she showed. It was the live that I think she showed up on, and she's also a therapist. And but she wrote a book. I know we talked about. I should have been showed y'all this book, but I know we've been talking about child sexual abuse for the last few days, or the last week we talked about it. And I purchased her book. She told me, "Hey, I wrote a book," and it wasn't the intent on telling me to, buy the book. We were just talking because we're therapists, and we, had connected. And she told me about the book, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I gotta get that book." And so I did. It's a little book called What's Wrong with Wesley. And this book is pretty much a child who was being sexually abused. And it goes through, and so it may be a little graphic. You may want to read, parents, you may want to read this first. And this is not a promotion at all for Miss Amber. But I love this book, and I know that it's an excellent resource. But parents, you may want to go through and read this book first. Parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, you go through, friends, go through and read this book first, because this is not a book that you want to just hand to your child and say, "Here, read this." That's not what kind of book this is. This book, you want to be able to go through and read it for yourself, because to be honest, some of us not comfortable talking about things like this. We're not comfortable talking about what's a good touch and what's a bad touch, and how do we know with the yellow touch is crossed over into a red touch, or how do we empower our children on what to say when someone has said things inappropriately to them, or have touched them inappropriately, or make them feel uncomfortable. Like, what do we say? What do we do? And so go through, read this book. This is a book that you want to read for yourself first, so that you will know how to have that conversation. And in it, it also talked a little bit about grooming and what that looks like a little bit for children, and what to look for. It don't really give tips on how to look for, what to look for, but it literally walked through. Um, so it can be kind of graphic, but you definitely want to read that first, engage whether or not it is appropriate for you to have the conversation with your child, or for you to sit down and read that with your child, based on their age, of course. Based on their age, of course. So a really good book on child sexual abuse, and it's a little boy, and I love the illustrations in there. Yeah, really good book. What's Wrong with Wesley? I also gave some red flags, like some things we talked about that for children. Like, what do you look for when a child has been sexually abused? That's in here in story form. Really good book. Really good book. Great job, Amber. Her name's Amber. It's by Amber Richardson, and you can find it. I think I bought it off of Amazon. I also had another book that I had here that I wanted to show, but yeah, it's in the book list. It's in the book list if you have grabbed that from the website. YouTube, tell me, can you guys see that link? Having problems with downloading. Let me see if anybody else having problems with downloading it? It should not give you problems with downloading. But if it does, just send me a DM and let me know. And then I will shoot you that link directly. I'll shoot it to you directly so that you can be able to get it. But I love you guys so much. I don't see any questions. Thank you so much for your support these past 30 plus days. I'm looking forward to continuing this in the middle of June where we'll pick back up. No, you cannot share that with a friend. You cannot share that with a friend. It would be nice. You should have told your friend to come on live. Remember what I said, that the link is only for those who show up live. Only for those who show up live. But you can direct your friend to me and I will give them some other resources should they need some other resources. Any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you guys so much. So much. I haven't tried yet. Okay. I got you. Awesome. Yeah, you know how to get in contact with me. So just let me know if it doesn't work. It should work though. So I'm not sure what the other issues may be. I'll check it and double check it to make sure that it's good on my end. So I love you guys so very much. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. We've almost been on for an hour. I can't believe that. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy your day. You know, if you take some breaks, if you need to take some breaks, take care of your mental health. But make sure that you join us back here. Keep a watch on our profile and, join us on Instagram. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. We also have a Facebook group called Relationship Recovery. Keep a watch on that because I have some things that I am going to be doing during those 2 weeks. I'm thinking about doing a support group for women who are sexual abuse survivors. So keep a watch on that. If you're interested, I have a couple of support groups that I thought about doing. So it's the one for sexual abuse, and then yeah, maybe one for trauma. So let me know if either one of those sound good for you. And just give me your feedback on them. I'm thinking about it like a 6 to 8 week support group. So let me know. I love you guys. Have a wonderful Tuesday. And we'll see you next time.